What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. I'm Mason Kenhan. In today's episode, the Washington Commanders have just defeated the New England Patriots 20-17 to pick up their fourth win of the season and their first win since the blockbuster trade deadline where they traded away both Chase Young and Montez Sweat. It was a back and forth game. It was your typical Washington Commanders game. It was ugly, but Washington got the win. Ended up winning 20-17. At one point, they were up by a touchdown. Then Patriots came and tied it. Late field goal in the third quarter. And then Washington shut out the Patriots in a very back and forth fourth quarter. I guess we'll just get started here with, of course, the man of the hour. Because, again, this guy is playing out of his mind right now. Back-to-back weeks with great performances. Sam Howell has stringed together two great performances back-to-back. In today's matchup, 29-45, 325 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He was sacked only 3 times now, so that's great because earlier on in the season, he was getting sacked 6-7 times a game, and now against the Eagles, he was only sacked once, and here against the Patriots, sacked 3 times. And these are 2 top-tier defenses that he was going up against, so a great sign in terms of the growth of this offensive line over the last few weeks. Great sign and great momentum going into Seattle next week. But Sam Howell's performance on his own, again, 29-45, 325, a touchdown, and interception. The interception, I guess we'll start with the bad. The interception was definitely the worst part of his day. He was rolling out to his right and looking towards the end zone. I thought he was going to throw it away, but he ends up throwing it into triple coverage. Really just, you cannot defend a throw like his interception. I don't know what he was seeing. It's like that one Sam Darnold quote, I was seeing ghosts or something, because I do not know what he was looking at. There wasn't really a receiver in the area. There was one receiver in the area, and there was 4 Patriots defenders. So don't really know what he was looking at. I guess he was trying to throw it away, but kind of messed up throwing it away or didn't get enough arm into it because it was easily intercepted by New England. Now for the bite. That was pretty much the only horrible thing. For the bright stuff, Sam Howell was hitting throws. Throw after throw after throw. He had a deep touchdown to Jahan Dotson. He missed a few of his deep throws, but then towards the end of the game, especially in the third quarter, really was knocking down a bunch of these sideline throws to Terry and stuff. It was a very impressive game from Sam Howell. He's the first Washington. Yeah, this is his first time in Washington where he has had back-to-back 300-yard passing games. So a great sign on the growth of Sam Howell so far. He's now up to, let me check. He's now up to 2,400 yards on the year, for 14 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. I believe over the last 5 games, Sam Howell has the most passing yards out of any quarterback in the NFL. I'm pretty sure that's right. I saw one of the beat reporters say it, so he's playing really well over the last few weeks. Now, one trend that I have noticed, we look at the attempts from Sam Howell in the last few games. We've had 42, 52, and 45. And if you don't count the Atlanta game and go to the Chicago game, he threw it 51 times as well. We talked about early on in the preseason and kind of in the preseason and at the beginning of the season how Sam Howell was really expected to throw 20, 25, maybe 30 yards a game, 30 pass attempts a game. And he's out here throwing it 40 plus times a game. They are letting him loose. And in an offense which was really run heavy last season with Scott Turner, you bring in Eric Bieniemy. The offense many people still thought was going to be run first, pass second. Here in the last few weeks, Sam Howell now has really taken control of this offense and is kind of putting the ball in his hands. Again, 42, 52, 45 pass attempts. He's had 249 or more yards in each of his last 3 games, including the 397-yard game against Philly last week and the 325-yard game against New England this week. So Sam Howell, great performance from him. I really love to see him stringing together these great performances. Again, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception last week, a touchdown and interception this week, but overall played a very good game. Again, Seattle next week. He's going to be going up against Devin Witherspoon, Tariq Woolen, a really solid secondary that Seattle has. They got lit up by Lamar Jackson in the Baltimore Ravens today. But beyond that, they have a really solid secondary, really solid defense with Shane Waldron over there. I really am interested to see how Sam Howell will perform. It's going to be a 4:00 game. I'll get more into the Seattle game in the future later on. But overall, great performance from Sam Howell. If I had to rate 1 to 10, I'd say probably a 7 or an 8. If I had to put on like an A through F scale, I'd give him a solid A minus today. Beyond the interception, he was great, but that interception in the red zone, you cannot be throwing a pass like that. So that's what I got to say about Sam Howell. In terms of who he was throwing to, though, spreading the wealth. He was spreading the wealth. He threw it to, let's check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different receivers. This is becoming a common trend now for this offense. 7 or more wide receivers, or 7 or more receivers are getting involved every game. Today it was 9. I mean, John Bates had caught a screen pass that went for -5 yards. But even if you count him out, 8 different receivers catching a pass and 7 different receivers catching multiple passes. So great game all around. Terry McLaurin, 5 catches at 73 yards. Jahan Dotson, 4 catches, 69 yards, had that 33-yard touchdown pass as well from Sam Howell. That was just on a line to Jahan Dotson. You love to see it, especially a guy like Dotson who has really struggled through the first 7 weeks of the season, and now back-to-back games picking up a touchdown. It's what you love to see. He's really starting to heat up, which many fans were very worried towards the beginning of the season. Is Jahan Dotson, was last year a fluke? Is he really not that good? But here, back-to-back games now, stringing together good performances. Doesn't have to do anything crazy, but just stringing together these consistent performances, finding the end zone. Jahan Dotson, a guy, the leading touchdown receiver last year for Washington. So, great game from Dotson. Byron Pringle was a guy that I was very, very intrigued about this game. He had 3 catches, 55 yards on 4 targets, but it felt like he was out there more than half of the time. I'll have to look at the snap counts, but I think Byron Pringle was out there half the time, more than half the time. Same with De'Ami Brown, who we'll get to in a second because that man did not have a great game. But I was really impressed with Byron Pringle. I want to see more of him. I want to see more of Mitchell Tinsley, who was inactive for today's game, or Jamison Crowder, who was active. 4 catches, 23 yards for Crowder on 6 targets. He had a great game. That, and then on special teams as well, he had 5 punt returns for 32 yards with as long as being 14. So he's putting together good performances and really seems to be the biggest acquisition for the Washington Commanders over this last offseason. Again, you brought in guys like Andrew Wiley. You brought in that entire draft class, who I'll get to in a second. But, Byron Pringle and Jamison Crowder putting together a good performance. De'Ami Brown, on the other hand, dropped a touchdown and overall he had 2 catches for 33 yards on 4 targets, but he didn't look great out there. And it really seems to be that a lot of Washington fans are starting to give up on the former 3rd-round pick. We'll have to wait and see what the coaching staff does with a guy who's only in his 3rd year in the NFL, but is not looking great. And with an undrafted rookie who has really impressed so far, and Mitchell Tinsley, who's been inactive so far this season. And then with a guy like Jamison Crowder, who's really making an impact on offense, and a guy that Eric Bieniemy and Sam Howell seem to really like. It'll be interesting to see how much playing time or how many snaps De'Ami Brown will get down the stretch of this season, down the second half of the stretch of the season. Gibson had 5 catches as well. Brian Robinson had a catch. Logan Thomas had 4 catches. A great check down target for Antonio Gibson and Logan Thomas for Sam Howell. So overall, those guys played great. Brian Robinson, in terms of on the ground, had 18 carries, 63 yards. Gibson had 6 carries. Howell was running the ball. He had 5 carries, but in his longest being a 24-yarder. So I don't really know why he didn't take off 5 times, but you know how sometimes if you get tackled at the line of scrimmage, they're going to call it a rush or whatever when it's really just a sack. So it's kind of that's kind of skewed, but he did have 1 24-yarder on a 3rd and 23. He ran, picked up all of it, broke some tackles along the way. Sam Howell was doing it all through the air and on the ground as well. Brian Robinson had a fumble today, which wasn't really his fault. Like, I know how Antonio Gibson sometimes had his fumbling issue where he wasn't holding onto the ball that strong or whatever. But Brian Robinson, his fumble today was kind of just a great punch out. It was by I think it was by Jonah Tavai on the New England Patriots, who just punched it out. So great play from Tavai. Brian Robinson, I mean, I guess you can hold it stronger, but it was just more of one of those Shaq Leonard peanut punches that was that Jonah Tavai did. So I mean, like, it was a great play by Tavai. I guess Robinson could have had a stronger arm on it, but yeah, just overall great play from Devy. But yeah, a lot of spreading the wealth here for Washington in the receiving game. 9 different receivers targeted. Robinson and Gibson getting 6 or more carries. So great stuff from them. In terms of Emmanuel Forbes in this draft class, I loved what I saw today out of this draft class. It was by far the best game. We saw playing time from KJ Henry, Andre Jones. Both of those guys got some playing time. KJ Henry had his first sack of his NFL career, and it was a strip sack. It got called back because of roughing the passer, which it was not roughing the passer. He sacked him on his blind side so that he sacked him because he was facing the quarterback's back, right? So he sacked him that way, and they kind of fell on top of him. But so they called it a roughing the passer. It was weird, but it wasn't really roughing the passer. They called it anyways, though, so it does not count. But overall, great game from KJ Henry. We'll see what his snap counts are going to be. Same with Andre Jones. Jones getting a tackle. KJ Henry did not pick up a tackle, I don't think he did. Obata and Tuhill, 2 guys that I was really intrigued about. Same with James Smith-Williams. I know a lot of Washington fans were intrigued about Casey Tuhill today. Same with James Smith-Williams. Now that Montez Sweat and Chase Young are gone, how will that affect the pass rush? Well, we'll get to that in a second, actually, because I just realized that's the next segment. But one last thing on the draft class and the rookies. Quan Martin, game-sealing interception. Great game from him. Chris Rodriguez had a great play on special teams on a punt return. Great game from him. Emmanuel Forbes looked great as well. So Emmanuel Forbes definitely played his best game as a pro today. So you love to see that. Had 2 pass breakups along with 3 other tackles, which just a great game overall from Emmanuel Forbes. And then I think that was it for the draft class. No Ricky Stromberg. He's on IR. Brandon Daniels on IR. Now to the pass rush, because I really want to talk about this. The pass rush today was not there at all. Mac Jones had all day in the pocket. Casey Tuhill, F.A. Obata, Chris Rodriguez. Not Chris Rodriguez. James Smith-Williams. No sacks at all. No sacks for this entire defense for the entire game. Only 1 quarterback hit, and that came from James Smith-Williams. We'll get more advanced numbers in the PFF stuff over the next few days if you want to see some of the PFF stuff. I posted a lot of it on my Twitter or X or whatever, at Mason Kenahan, which is yes, it's that. So if you want to see some of the PFF stats and more advanced stats, then you can follow my Twitter at that on the screen. So that's gonna be happening probably on Monday and on Tuesday. I'm just gonna post a bunch of the PFF stuff. But yeah, great. Pass rush was really not there. We're gonna see how many pressures they picked up, which I doubt is going to be any. If I had to guess, maybe like 5 total pressures, which isn't a lot. Is not a lot at all. So that's going to be something that definitely needs to have some work on for the next few weeks, especially without Chase Young and Montez Sweat. So we'll have to wait and see about that. But yeah, that's the pass rush. That's the defense overall. Now for what's next. Well, Washington, you're now 4-5. You are sitting 8th in the NFC. You're the first team out of the playoffs. New England, 2-7. Don't really care about them. But for Washington, Seattle next week is going to be against the Seattle team that's coming off a massive loss to the Baltimore Ravens, a blowout loss to the Baltimore Ravens. That defense did not look great. Geno Smith did not look great. This Washington team, I know most of them, especially over the last few seasons, most people are going to believe they're going to go on this fake little win streak now against Seattle and then against the Giants and then against the Cowboys, which I could definitely see it happening. I think we do. If I had to make a prediction right now, I think we do get past Seattle and we get past the Giants because it looks like Daniel Jones has a torn ACL. So they are landing Caleb Williams because that is not good for New York. And they already were starting like Tommy DeVito and Tyrod Taylor. So they're down to Tommy DeVito, and that's their only quarterback on their roster right now. So we'll have to wait and see what they do at quarterback. They can't trade for anyone because the trade deadline's passed. So we'll have to see who they pick up. Maybe like a former Bills backup or something because Dabble was there. But back to what's next. Washington 4-5, one spot out of the playoffs. You got Seattle next week. You got the Giants, and then you have Seattle next week. Giants, Dallas, Miami bye week, and then the stretch of the last 4 games: Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and Dallas. So we've got 8 games left on the schedule in 9 weeks. What will Washington do? What will Ron Rivera do in this time? Not entirely sure, but yeah, it looks like we're about to go on this little fake win streak. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, if I had to make a guess, I think we beat Seattle next week. We looked pretty good today against New England. Sam Howell is really starting to look like that guy at quarterback. He's now stringing together 2 good performances. We'll see if he can do it again against Shaden Waldron's defense next week. That'll be it. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode this week, but that'll be it for this week's episode of Keeping Up with the Commanders. New episodes every Monday morning, recapping the Washington Commanders games. Yeah, that'll be it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.